Welcome back to the Fordcast. What is up? This is JG Lockhart. Welcome back to another episode with yours truly. Glad to be here. Glad you're here joining me. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the Creator for allowing me to be here, allowing you to be here. Here today on the Fordcast, we're going to talk about what special day this is besides the day that the Lord had made. We're actually at 100 days and counting until our midterm elections. I don't know if you guys know that, but this is a very, very, very important election coming up. Also, here in Charlotte, North Carolina, we're talking about teen takeovers, and we're talking about instilling a curfew for our teenagers. Yes, it has actually gotten to that. And also, we're going to start something new, which I know I'm going to get in trouble about. Coming up later in the show, it's Niggas Need Help, because we all do. My name is JG Lockhart. Welcome to the show. All right. Go ahead and pull that out. Of course, I do not own the rights to PE, but we're going to go ahead and pull that out right now. Hey, welcome to the show. Glad you could be here for another glorious day. Wow, it's a beautiful day outside. We need the rain. It's been raining the past few days. I think we're still in water restriction here in Charlotte, so I need to power wash my house, so I'm needing the Lord to go ahead and spray us with some more rain, the Creator. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. First off, let's talk about today. Today marks 100 days until the midterm elections. And if you do not understand how important that is, let me go ahead and break this down to you, okay? These midterm elections are the most important elections for anyone 18 years and older in the United States. There has never, and I know Obama was the first black president elected, but there has never been a more important election than these midterms coming up. No presidential election can compare to these midterm elections. Why? Because this November the 3rd, 100 days from now, the people who vote in this country will select the people who will choose the next president of the United States. And that's how it has been forever, and we haven't been paying attention to it. But now let's go ahead and break this down. Let's, as some people say, unpack this. And that's what we're going to do right now. So we know that the midterm elections are the midpoint between the presidential elections. That's why they call them the midterm. The presidential elections every 4 years. Every 2 years after a president is elected, we have what is called the midterms. Now, those elections are always important elections, and we really don't pay attention. But here's the reason why. Because if you don't understand that in order for the president to get things done, he needs Congress to work with him, then you're not understanding how this thing works. A president can make as many executive orders as he wants to, but without Congress's approval, without them stepping in, he can't do anything. And as we see now, this president can do anything because he has the Congress to do it. And this is how that happens, because after the president is elected, 2 years later, we go to the polls and we elect the Congress people that are either going to support him or not support him every time. So in order for, let me just give you some history. You remember when Obama was elected as president, and then 2 years later, we all kind of got, oh, wow, we got so happy, and nobody went to vote for the midterms, and then the Republicans took over Congress, and they made it difficult for him to get people into the Supreme Court, which is why we have this big issue with the Supreme Court now. We have all these conservative judges up here now. Well, they wouldn't, when I say they, the Congress that was elected to in the midterms would not approve any of Obama's appointments. So we got these people, these justices that are up there now that Congress would not approve until the next president came in line, which we all know how that happened. So what you need to understand is that this November, if you don't like what's going on right now in Washington, you can stand up and say, you know what? We need some change, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to vote. That means you're going to vote for either the U.S. House of Representatives that represents your state or the U.S. Senator that represents your state. And this is how you're doing it. You're doing it because those people are the ones that make up the Electoral College. The Electoral College consists of 538 votes. Those 538 votes are the 438 U.S. House of Representatives that are elected and the 100 senators that are elected. 438 plus 100 equals 538. That's the Electoral College. That's it. That's what Congress does. They, in addition to making laws, they elect the next president. Now, if you are voting for a congressman who you think is going to select the president that you want to, then you're good. But if you're not voting at all, then whoever is your congressional representative, whether it's a House of Representatives or a Senate representative, you won't know who they're going to vote for because you're not voting for them. So you have to vote for who you think is going to vote for the president that you want to in the next couple of years. And if you're just, one of those people where I just vote Republican or I just vote Democrat, well, then that's what you do. But I'm just going to be honest with you. People have gotten hip to that. People have gotten smart to understand that down balloting, that's that is called down balloting, when you just vote for everybody Democrat. You're just going to, I'm just going to vote for Democrat, or I'm just going to vote for Republican. Well, people have gotten smart. All right. That's what we do. We get smarter, right? When you know more, you do better. So what some Republicans have started doing is they have started registering as Democrats. All right. And some Democrats have started registering as Republicans, some independents people are registering as different things until they get elected, and then their true colors show. Remember Trish Cottom? If you're not familiar with Trish Cottom in North Carolina, especially Charlotte, North Carolina, you should be. Trish Cottom is a cautionary tale for everyone. Trish Cottom ran on the Democratic platform for the North Carolina General Assembly. Oh, and speaking of the North Carolina General Assembly, all 170 seats for the North Carolina General Assembly are up for a re-election this November. So if you care anything about schools, about the funding for private schools versus public schools, then you need to make sure you're voting for who you want in the North Carolina General Assembly. But Trish Cottom ran on a Democratic platform in a very tight race. This is years ago. Not years. This is two presidentials ago, I believe. But once she got into Raleigh, she flipped. She decided that she didn't want to be a Democrat no more, which is her prerogative, Bobby Brown. This was her prerogative. She chose to register as a Republican. And so she flipped a seat. Basically, she ran as a Democrat, flipped it, so she basically took two seats. She took one away from the Democrats and she added one to Republicans. Do you know how costly that was to the Democratic platform? That was devastating because for so long, the General Assembly had gone through deadlocks or ties where they couldn't get anything passed because it was pretty much even as far as both sides, Republicans and Democrats. So Trish Cottom, a cautionary tale, she's one of those ones that decided, hey, if people are just going to vote Democrat, I'm just going to run as a Democrat. And then when I get elected, I'm going to switch to Republican. So you have to know who you're voting for. You really have to know what their intentions are. And even more so, if you know these people that are running for office and you are an American and you consider yourself your civic duty to report things that you know, if you know that these people are up to stuff before they run, then you need to get on TikTok and social media and let us know. Because we don't know what Trish Cottom or who she was talking to about her plan. I'm pretty sure she talked about it to a lot of Republicans, but I don't think she talked about it to a lot of Democrats. And if she did and they didn't let us know, then, But anyway, so let me just go back to the presidential. This midterm election, 538 votes that make up the Electoral College. You need 270 out of those 538. That is one more than half. All right, we're back to the presidential election. We're back to these midterms, because these midterm elections, the people that are in place in 2028, the congressmen and women that are in Congress in 2 years are going to be the ones that are going to vote for the president. It's not going to be you. It is not going to be me. It is not going to be the popularity vote. So I'm telling you now, I don't care if your candidate has 10 million votes and other candidate has 0. If the electoral people in Congress, the Electoral College votes 270 votes for the person that didn't get any votes, that person is going to win. That's why it's important for you to understand why you should be voting this November for your U.S. House Representative or your U.S. Senator in your particular state that is going to represent your interests. And if you don't know, write to them. Send them an email. Hey, I'm thinking about voting for you. Who you're going to vote for in 2028. Ask them, do you support what the current president's doing? Are you going to vote for him again? Now, of course, they could tell you anything and lie. But if they tell you something and they respond to your email, then you have it in writing. You have it in writing that this person is a liar and they flipped on you. We have to start catching these liars, y'all. We got to start holding people accountable for their jobs and what they're doing in Congress. Because if they're not held, listen, this country is literally, there is nothing holding this country together except morals and values. We can descend into anarchy at any given time. I mean, you look at it now, people are running red lights. Think about it. Think about how many people you see running red lights. And everybody can do it, but what stops us from doing it? The fact that we know the red lights are there for a specific reason, so that cars don't run into one another, so that we can be safe. But now you see so many people running red lights. Now, I'm just giving this as a small example, small sample size. If everybody starts running red lights, what do you think is going to happen? If everybody says, you know what, I don't have to slow down at the yellow caution light, I'm going to speed up and go through. You know what, that red light's about to change, I'm just going to go through it, and those people are going to have to just stop me. You know, those people are going to have to stop for me. If everybody thought like that, imagine how many accidents we would have. And then guess who's going to raise their rates? The insurance commissions. The insurance companies, they're going to raise their rates. You know, we're going to wind up paying more money in insurance. Now, we already don't know a lot about insurance, except that they're one of the wealthiest entities around. And that's because they almost don't let me get into insurance, but we have insurance regulators who are supposed to make sure that they're not getting rich off of us. But those are people too. Everybody. We are all one. We all have our desires, our wants, you know, things that we believe in. And it is only morals and values and our own free will that keeps us from descending into the abyss as a country. That's it. And when you don't know something and you depend on other people to tell you things, depending upon how obedient you are, you'll do anything. You'll believe anything. You'll fall for anything. So what we really have to do is get back to, or not even get back, we have to move to a place where we're understanding how our country works, how we elect our leaders. And this midterm elections, you need to understand that this is where you're going to elect the people that are going to choose the next president of the United States. There are 438 U.S. House of Representatives. There are 100 senators. They make up 538 of the Electoral College votes. You need one more than half to win, which is 270. All right. We're going to keep talking about this as we get closer to the election, and hopefully we're going to be able to break down who's running, why they're running, maybe even get some of those people on the air. But I really need you guys to understand that it's you. You have 100 years. 100 years. You have 100 days to get right. We're going to take a quick commercial break, or music break. I'm going to grab some water, and we'll be right back. This is J.G. Lockhart with the forecast. All right, we're back here at the forecast. Just a quick word, I do not own the rights to Gnarls Barkley Crazy. I do not own the rights to that, nor do I own the rights to what's that? Dion Ferris, just to let you guys know that. I like the music. Okay. So anyway, we're back here at the forecast. Glad you guys could join us. Just want to let you know that, again, this is 100 days. This is the most important show I've probably ever done, because we have a duty, each and every one of us, to be good citizens, all right? And as far as God's people, to help one another. And in our earthly roles here, we have a responsibility to everyone else. And there's some people who understand things better than others, and it is our job to try and help break this stuff down. So for me, trying to explain this thing to you, I had somebody say, hey, you know what? I think other people really should hear what you got to say about this Electoral College, because I never knew that. So yeah, this Electoral College thing, it's real. It's real, and we should understand that, and we should be teaching our kids about this. You know, we shouldn't have to send our kids to school to understand how we're selecting our leaders. We're selecting our leaders every single year, whether it is on the local level, whether it's on the state level, whether it's on the federal level. Every single year there's an election, and each election you are choosing people that are going to represent you and your interests, either your best interest or your worst interest. And that's real. That's real. Think about it. Now, I'm an African American. I'm a black man. Think about if the Ku Klux Klan, all right, or one of these other white supremacist organizations, think about if they put up their people to run for an election and nobody black voted, but all the racist white supremacist people voted for the Ku Klux Klan. Guess who's going to be governing us? Black and white, the Ku Klux Klan, because people didn't show up to vote. So you really have to understand your power is in your vote. And if you don't understand, then we need to ask questions. So I am here to kind of help dispel the fogginess around the Electoral College vote versus the popularity vote. The popularity vote does not select the next president. And I don't even know why we have a popular vote. Is it just to spend money? Because it seems like a big waste of time and money to put out all those resources just for a presidential. Well, excuse me. Let me take that back. Because also in the presidential election, you have senators that are going to be elected. So that's real. No, excuse me. No, there won't be. I'm sorry. I'm giving you bad information. Let me take that back. You know, I had a stroke. But every couple of years, there is a U.S. House of Representatives that is elected and or a senator. So back to what I was stating to you at the beginning, you have to understand that one of these 538 people will be up for election this November, depending upon what state you live in. You need to check it out, whether it's your U.S. House of Representative or your state senator. In North Carolina, we have 16 electoral votes. We have 14 U.S. House of Representatives that represent us, and we have 2 senators, just like every other state. Every state has 2 senators, and for however many people that they have in their state, they have the House of Representatives that represent them. So the Senate, which is considered the most, the creme de la creme, since there are only 100 of those. There are 100 of those, and there are 438 of the U.S. House of Representatives. Together, they make up the 538 people of the Electoral College vote. That's really simple. And all you need is one more than half to become president, which is 270. That's why that number is big. That's why you see that number, the race to 270, on your TV every presidential election. Well, understand that race has already been decided, as it will be this November. You can decide who's going to be the next president or who's not going to be the next president this November. If you're 18 years old or older and you are a registered voter, then you can decide right now, in 100 days, who you don't want or who you possibly may want to become president of the United States. All right. So anyway, also wanted to let you know that in North Carolina, this is for all you North Carolinians, all right, all my Tar Heel folks. All right. In North Carolina, we have a total of 170 seats in the General Assembly. Now, the General Assembly is our state level Congress, all right, but they call it the General Assembly. Those are the people that make up state laws, All right. Those are the people who decide how much funding goes to public schools versus private schools. If you have a kid that goes to public school and you're wondering why you have to pay for everything, well, that's because the current General Assembly has been giving all of your money, billions in fact, to private schools for private school vouchers. And for me, as a hardworking American, I don't understand why you would want to give public funds to private entities. I just don't get that. It makes no sense to me, but it doesn't seem like we're screaming enough because they're still doing it. I mean, we're taking away resources. We're not paying our teachers, but we're giving all this money to private schools, to people who already have the money to send their kids to school. And thus, they're not having to come out of their pocket because the public or the poorer people are having to come out of their pocket to pay for their kids' education. That does not sit well with me. It should not sit well with you. I think I was talking about it on one show. What's his name? Greg Olson. Greg Olson makes $10 million a year. Greg Olson's kids are eligible for school vouchers. Greg Olson's kids are eligible for a coupon to go to the private school of their choice. Now, this man has donated millions of dollars to weight rooms at schools around Charlotte and whatnot. And I'm not saying Greg Olson's a bad guy. I'm not, by no means. But what I'm trying to get you to say is that Greg is rich. He does not need public funds. He does not need public money to help send his kids to school. He can write the check on his own. So why then should North Carolinians be writing a check to send his kids to school? That is the General Assembly. That does not make sense. That's why you need to make sure you vote for who you want going to the General Assembly so they can undo this mess. I mean, the poor are getting poorer, and they're taking out everything. Our kids are not even smarter now than we are. Remember when we used to be smarter than our parents? Well, now our kids are dumber than us. I'm serious. The kids are dumber than us because what are they teaching them in school? They're not teaching them anymore. They're testing them. There's a difference between teaching and testing. And if you talk to any educated, they will explain that to you. No, they don't allow us. And you know who that is? The North Carolina General Assembly. That is the North Carolina General Assembly who decides at the end of the day what's allowed to be taught in North Carolina public schools. The private schools, they can teach whatever they want to. That's not right. They can accept whoever they want to accept, and they can teach whatever they want to. Meanwhile, your tax dollars and my tax dollars are going to their programs. They're going to their football school. They're going to their football programs, their basketball programs. Meanwhile, your kid and my kid, we have to pay for stuff like physicals. We have to pay for uniforms. We have to pay for everything because we've sent that money away to the private schools. Y'all, I'm not lying. This is how this works. This is how this works. And if you don't believe me, then do some research on your own, okay? Don't take my word for it. Do some research on your own because we are at a critical time here in our country where this information is at your fingertips. And if you are not doing anything except looking at TikTok and Facebook to get your laugh on every day, that's what some people want you to do. They want you to laugh about it and not do anything about it. Me, I want you to do something. I want you to empower yourself so that you can make wise decisions for your kids' future, for your future, for however much longer you're going to be here, for our country's future. All right? So, anyway, I didn't mean to get into that for so long, but we're going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to talk about this teen takeover, these teen takeovers and this curfew that is being proposed in Charlotte. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. This is J.G. Lockhart with the forecast.
What you know about rolling down in the deep?
Okay, we're back here at the forecast with yours truly, J.G. Lockhart. I do not own the rights to Masked Wolf Astronaut, just want to let y'all know, nor do I own the rights to my girls In Vogue. Oh, man, I remember coming up, I used to be such a big In Vogue fan. Oh, my gosh. They were all light skin, long hair. Y'all remember that? No disrespect to my chocolate sisters. You know, I love them all. 4 kids by 4 different women, so, you know. But anyway, I do not own the rights to this music and just want to put that out there. So anyway, we're back here at the forecast and we want to talk a little bit about what's happening in Charlotte on the local level. And in specific, we want to talk about this proposed teen curfew. All right, let's just be serious. Why does city council need to propose a curfew for other people's kids? I'm serious. Why does an elected body of officials have to come together to propose a curfew for other people's kids? I mean, the answer's clear, because some of the kids, not all, some of these kids are out of control. Some of these kids, you heard of these teen takeovers. These kids are setting these things up together. They're coordinating very well. So that lets you know they're not just dumb. But what you need to know is that these kids are out here in the streets because there's nothing else for them to do at home. I mean, I'm going to take my neighborhood, for example, Greenville. I live in the neighborhood of Greenville, which is right outside of uptown Charlotte, right over here by the Music Factory. I'm pretty sure lots of you who attend the shows and concerts at the Music Factory, you come into the neighborhood and not even know this is historic Greenville. But Greenville has a rec center and Greenville is a historically black neighborhood, by the way. This neighborhood was started as people who were displaced from old Brooklyn way back in the day came over here to Greenville. And Greenville was also displaced as well. But people came back. So Greenville is a historically black neighborhood. There is a rec center in the center of Greenville. It used to be called the Greenville Recreation Center. I remember going there when I was a young kid. There was a swimming pool inside. It was one of the few places in Charlotte that had an indoor swimming pool. And it was fantastic. I used to play football with Pop Warner right across the street. So we had these things to do. Well, now, in 2010, 2011, they shut down the rec center. This is like 16 years ago. They shut it down. Now, the reason they shut it down, at the end of the day, the reason they shut it down was because the community didn't fight for it. The community did not know how to fight for it. All right. Remember, black people only been able to vote since 1965 without retribution. So you're talking in 2010, basically 45 years later, things just don't come to you like that. Oh, yeah, we can vote now. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do that. No, There's a learning curve. And in between those learning curves, you suffer. And this community suffered. They shut down the rec center, so the kids had no place to go. Now we have gangs. We have gang on this side. We have gang right across the street because these kids have had no place to go after school. You think about when you were in school. When you got out of school, what was the first thing you did? You dropped your books and you were out of there, man. You had been stuck inside the classroom all day. You needed to burn off. You guys like, you just want to go outside. I had a neighbor, God rest his soul, Jeffrey Carr. My neighbor, when he would get out of school, he would just be outside yelling. And I was like, man, what you doing? He's like, I'm just happy to be out. Happy to be out of school. Yes. And this was back in the 80s when I was growing up. So even though once we got out of school, we had places to go. Like when I was coming up, you couldn't leave the yard unless you had permission. But when we got old enough to visit the rec centers, we would ride our bikes to the rec centers, and in the rec centers, there was foosball, there were card tables, you could do your homework. There were so many things that you could do. And shouts out to Don Curitan, who was a father to maybe 1,000 young African-American males in the West Charlotte neighborhoods. Don Curitan was one of those rec coordinators who worked at the rec center that dealt with all of us, the kids that didn't have fathers at home. And he was kind of like a father or absent father for all of us, even though he had his own kids. But we had places to go. But in 2010, in this neighborhood, that rec center was taken away from the community. It was taken away and closed down. The next year, the following year in 2011, it was reopened, not as the Greenville Neighborhood Center, but as the PAL Neighborhood Center, Police Athletics League. And what this Police Athletics League started doing was they started instituting their own programming. And the programming was not that of a regular rec center like you see at Marion Dale or all these other places in South Charlotte where you have computer classes. Of course, there's no computer lab in this rec center. There has not been. But PAL, they started after-school programming and they started summer programming. Now, the thing about the after-school programming is they charge for this. And many of the kids in this neighborhood their parents aren't able to afford $100 per week per kid. So guess where their kids are after school? In the street, on the corner, going into Family Dollar stealing. I remember, I can tell you, when we were young and we didn't have anything to do, we would go. And I grew up, and when I was 15 years old and moved from the west side with my father, when we didn't have anything to do, we would go up to the store and find something to do. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. And when you start getting older and you have more people around you that are influencing you to be a part of the crowd, peer pressure. You've heard that before. It will make you do some things that maybe you aren't supposed to be doing, but you don't want to be ostracized or you don't want to be called out. So you don't have any adult supervision because our parents were working. So we would go and we would steal. We would do this. I remember we would steal sunglasses out of the Ecker Drugs so we could look cool. But you couldn't let your parents see them because they want to know where you got those glasses from. But anyway, back to our rec center here. It's a problem because these kids have nowhere to go when they get out of school. And even more so, let me tell you this. If your kid is out, all right, if you got a teenager, all right, 12, 13, 14, 15, and they're out after dark, it's probably, I'm going to say this, and this is going to probably piss some people off, but it's time we start talking about it. It's probably safe to say you don't give a crap about that kid. It's probably safe to say that you don't love that kid and that you don't care about what happens with that kid. And I'm being very serious because we want to think that in this country that everybody's on the up and up, that everything is kumbaya, everybody's comes from a household where they're loved and nourished. No, that is BS. That is BS. That is bull hockey. Okay? Remember, I'm trying to stop cursing. But I remember myself when we were coming up that my mother told me, and she won't admit this, but she told me to my face, I wish you had never been born. At 12 years old, I remember this, and it hurt me so bad, I ran away. I ran away to the relatives on East Boulevard. They're still there. They're still taking in people, like the Howard Johnsons. They always have the light on. But I ran away to the relatives. The relatives took me in. They only keep you, I think, 12 hours, and then they have to alert your parents. So by my father not being around, well, he was around, but he was across town doing his thing. But they took me back to my mother's, and I never forget, we went into the house, and we were sitting on the couch, and they told her why I ran away. And my mother sat up there in all her glory and lied and said, I didn't say that. So basically, this 12-year-old kid just decided he was going to run away from home, leave his bedroom, all his toys, and just run away just because he made up something. No. It was a very, it's something that I will never forget. And it wasn't until just recently that I met a young man, and after speaking with him and speaking with his mother, that his mother said almost something similar. I don't care about them. I don't give a shit. Excuse my language, but this is what was repeated. I don't care. This is also after I had a teacher friend of mine to tell me about a young lady who had been caught performing oral sex. This is in middle school. Excuse me. This is in junior high, middle school, 9th grade. that a young lady had been caught performing oral sex on 2 young men, and she had gotten caught. And they had her in the office. They took her in the office and they called the mother, and the mother said that she wasn't coming to pick her up. She said she couldn't do it anymore. She gave her kid up at the school on the telephone. She gave the kid up. They had to, of course, my friend, they had to stay, call social services, start arranging to be picked up, place the child in foster care, all this. So what I'm saying to y'all is that all these kids are not loved. These kids are not loved, and they are at the age now where they know they're not loved. They know that you don't give a damn about them. They can see it. They're watching TV. They see what type of parents are invested in their success. And if you are invested in your kid's success, then it's your kid that is out here running around, jumping on cars, and you're out here not giving a damn. But these kids are costing us. They're costing us resources. Because we're having to put the police out there. We're having to make makeshift jails for people that don't belong in jail. Let that sink in. So today, if you're out here and if you got kids and you haven't talked to them about safe sex, about having kids out of wedlock, about having kids out of acts because you don't want to strap up, guys, because ladies, you want to catch a dude, or guys, you want to put a baby in her to keep her. You're having these kids and you're not caring about them. And then once these kids come out, we're throwing them away. We're throwing them away. And that's why we have this problem out here. And this is a serious problem for our community. There's no way in the world that city council should have to be considering a curfew. You should be responsible for your kids. And if they do come up with a curfew, I hope that if the curfew is enforced, that the parents are the ones that are going to go to jail. That if their kid is caught out, then you're the one going to go to jail. Because here's how I look at it. If you hadn't raised your kid and instilled some discipline and self-discipline and the things that's going to help make them successful, if you haven't been vested in their success, then you damn sure need to go to jail, because you shouldn't have made that kid and threw them out. That's what you're doing. You're throwing them away. And then, damn it, you need to go to jail. So I hope that if city council does do this, that the very first time, give it a warning, give anybody a warning. But the second and third time, you are fining the parents and you are locking them up. Because if you don't want to take care of your responsibility and you're putting it on society, then damn it, you're gonna have to take some of it too. We get up here and we we sit up in our houses and we have these cookouts and we want to travel. We want to get on TikTok. We want to buy jewelry. We want to show this and that. And our kids are here screwing up. They are screwing up. They're not doing anything at schools. You're not going to the schools. You're not meeting with their teachers. You're not involved in the PTA clubs. You're not even going to see them play sports if they're playing sports. You're not doing anything, but if something happens, if somebody puts their hand and shout, "Oh, that's my kid. Oh, Lord. Oh, this, all that." Man, look, it's time out for that. It's time out for that. And these kids are smart. These kids are smart now. They're smart as far, and when I say smart, that means they have caught on. They have picked up on what you've been delving out for them over these years. Like I said, when my mother told me that she wished I was never born at 12, I got it. I got it then. It didn't really come to me later on in life that, maybe I wasn't planned. Maybe my mom and dad wasn't trying to have a kid. They were just screwing, and then I was a mistake. And because back in that time, you didn't erase your mistakes as we do now with abortion. You had the kid. But if you have a kid that you didn't want in the first place, how likely is it that you're going to love that kid? How likely is it that you're going to champion for that kid? How likely is it that you're going to be vested in that kid's success, especially when you don't give a damn about the father or the mother or anything? And then you talk about aunts and uncles and grandparents and grandpas and grandmas. Hell, if you spitting out kids one after the other, they can only do but so much. And even though the kids are still coming, At some point, they're going to be like, you know what? I can't take care anymore. We've got a lot of that happening. We've got a lot of that happening. We've got a lot of kids that are unloved, and they don't even know. You might be unloved, and you don't even know. You don't know. And we tell you how you do know is because if you can look back and say, look, yeah, my mother and my father have been there, vested in my success for my entire life, then that way you know that you're loved. If you can look back on your life and say, nope, they weren't there then. Nope, they weren't there. Wow, where was that then? They weren't vested in your success. And you possibly may have raised your kids the same way. And then we want to sometimes label love as giving our kids shelter, food, and clothes on their back. That's not love. That's taking care of your responsibility to a certain extent. But even more so, these kids deserve to be nurtured. They deserve to be nurtured. They absolutely do. They deserve to be raised in a house where mom's not bringing in different men every week, every month, living in the house with them, and the men not interacting with the kids. Or the dad coming in beating on mom or having sex with the kids, and everybody in the family knows about it, but nobody's going to say anything. It's some horrific stuff that's happening in our homes, and no one's talking about it. We keep talking about a village raising a child. Well, no, some people don't even want you saying anything to their kids because they don't want you giving something that they don't want, that they themselves are unable to give. I know a woman who had 4 kids, and actually 5, and I tried to step in. Now, let me just say this, because I don't want to paint myself as this savior, don't mess up and all. No, I'm not that person, but I do love kids, and I know kids don't get to choose who their parents are, and I know kids have impressionable minds, and if you can start a kid out on a certain way, then more than likely they kind of will stay towards that track. But I kind of came in and tried to introduce these kids to sports. All right. Even went so far as to picking them up and dropping them off, picking them up and dropping them off, until one day the mother's like, no, they're not going to do that. They don't need to do that. Said they don't need to do that. That's all. These girls, they play basketball, and they love to play basketball. They were twins. And the mother said they don't need to do that. So, of course, they didn't. And then what did they start doing? Well, they started doing their own thing. And they eventually joined the gang, and such is life. If you don't love your kid, you should probably tell them early on instead of making it look like or pretending. And I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I don't believe in mistakes. Every child born out here was born for a reason. And if you are one of those people who was born as a child and didn't feel loved, I can honestly tell you that there is the creator. There's a creator. There's a higher power that loves you more than everything. And that is the person that's been making things happen all this time. You may not even known it, that your mom and dad, even though they don't give a damn, but there's somebody, our Father in heaven, who that's what I call him, the creator, the higher power, whatever you want to call him, But there's somebody that is advocating for you on a daily basis. Every day that you wake up, you have opportunity to do something despite what your parents didn't do, despite what they are doing. You can ask for help. You can do your own thing. You can better yourself every single day. You can go out and find out why you have these thoughts. There are people out there that want to help, that want to listen, want to talk, want to do. There are people out here. There are good people in the world, but there are a whole lot of bad people, and there are a whole lot of sick people. I'll use another word that starts with F, but I'm trying to stop cursing. But there are a whole lot of sick people out here, and unfortunately, a lot of those sick people are our parents, and we don't know how they got that way. We don't know why they're like that. We don't know how you get to be 80 years old and you're still stuck in a time warp where you want to act like you don't know that what you've seen in your 80 years, there's a difference. Because if you don't want to come up and say to your kids, I made a mistake, I should have done better, then your kid's going to go on thinking that, hey, the way I was raised or what my mom and dad did to me, that's what I'm going to do to my kids. Or the kid's going to have enough common sense to say, you know what, the way I was raised, that wasn't right. I didn't like it, so I'm not going to raise my kids that way. It can happen either or. Either or. So anyway, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back. But this teen takeover thing, guys, I would really ask you to reach out to your council people and see what the stipulations are for the parents that don't keep their kids off the street, because that's the way it should be. Parents should be responsible for their kids. This is JG Lockhart with the forecast. I do not own the rights to Angie Stone.
Yes, he's my father. Yes, he's my son. I can talk to him because he understands.
All right, we're back here. You know what that means. So we talked a little bit about the importance of today being 100 days until the midterm elections. Now is the time for you to start checking your voters registration. And look, designate somebody in your family to be the official election leader, somebody that's going to make sure everybody's up to date. Because if you're 18 years or older, you can take part in these next elections, and we need to. We have to take part. This is the most important election coming up in our lifetime. In the 250-year history of this country, this election, 2026, is the most important because we are battling people who know that you're not voting. We are battling people who know that you're not paying attention to what's happening, and they're taking advantage of that. So let's not be stuck on stupid anymore, y'all. Let's get in the know. And let's hold these people accountable, and let's let them know that, hey, no, we've had enough of this. We're going to do it a different way. And the only way you're going to do that is by registering and voting, showing up. You're going to have to show up. We did not get into the new segment that I wanted to get into, which was niggas need help. All right. And that is something that I am bringing to the show because we need help. And when I say niggas, I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about everybody in this country. We need help. We got a lot going on that we haven't had our eyes open to. A lot of stuff has been kept from us. A lot of stuff has actually been right there in front of our face, and we haven't paid attention to it. But because niggas need help, we're going to get them the help. My name is JG Lockhart. Until next time, you guys keep it light. Keep it 100, but most of all, be encouraged. Love you.